Here is a tip for cross stitch. Now when we normally start cross stitch, we go through the Aida and we leave a little bit of the double thread behind because you normally sew with 2 strands. And then we normally have to keep our fingers on this back double piece so it doesn't go all the way through. We then make our cross first half. So we're now on the back again. And then when we go through for the second part of the cross from the back, that little end there, we have to make sure we go over it to hold it in place. So on the back here, we now catch that double thread. And then we continue on the correct side with the rest of the cross. Now I have a far simpler and less fiddly way to do this, so let me show you that. When we want to sew with the double strand, I use 1 strand and fold it in half. So make sure the 2 ends are equal. Pull it straight. You will need double the length you would normally want to use for this because now we've reduced the 1 strand in half. Then we thread the needle through the doubled over part. So where we have the bend, this is where we thread the needle. So we thread the double piece through, go almost to the 2 little tail pieces. Now we're going to start the cross stitch. So on the back, we come up, pull through and just leave that bent piece on the back. So we don't have tails this time, we have the loop. Then we turn onto the front and we do your first part of your cross. When we go on the back now, put the needle through the loop, pull and continue going back to the front side to continue your second part of your cross stitch. So you can see now on the back we have a nice neat catch and no fiddly tails to cut off or trim, perfectly flat, a perfect way to do cross stitch. So that's my first cross stitch tip. My second cross stitch tip is I can put any cross stitch onto absolutely any type of material or item. The way I do this is I get squared paper and I draw my design or copy a design onto the square paper. Then I pin the square paper onto whatever I want to sew on or make cross stitch on, and then I just fill it in as normal cross stitch. At the end, depending on what the item is, if it's something you're going to wash, you may want to take a little pin and hook out some of the paper, or wash separately the first time and the paper should just come out and dissolve. You will find as you cross stitch on paper, the paper does come out as you go anyway. So always start from the top and work down. I've barely got any actual paper left behind this as I'm cross stitching it. I haven't quite finished. But this is a bag, so I'm not very likely to wash this. So I'm not concerned about doing that. Of course, you will need to really make a border of cross stitch around the size of your paper if you want to, and it just holds it all together as a firmer sew. But you don't have to do that. You could just do a motif if you want. So give that a go. This is a way of having any design on any product or material. So give that a go. So how do you get any design you want? Well, simply find any picture you like in a magazine or anything like this, and take kitchen paper, greaseproof paper or tracing paper, whatever you can find. Draw with a heavy pencil round the parts of the design you want, and make sure you really use a good heavy thick pencil. Then if you want to transpose that onto, say, square paper for doing your cross stitch, or onto something that you want to do mosaic, once you've drawn the thick heavy pencil, bring the item you want to put your design onto. So you could put it straight onto your cross stitch if you wanted. Invert the heavy pencil, so the heavy pencil is now down on your item, and then redraw over the thick pencil lines that you can see, or even rub it down hard, and this will transpose it. Now that won't work if it's lettering, because obviously now your lettering is back to front. So for lettering, we do step 1 of tracing the lettering. Step 2, turn it over onto paper that you don't want, retrace the lettering. And step 3, turn it over again and trace the backward lettering, which will now become the lettering the right way round on your product. Have a go. My next tip is invest in stencils. These can be reused many times in many different ways. It also saves you a lot of time. They do cost some money, but I think this is cheaper than going out and buying actual craft things to stick on, for example. So this is one I have. These are to make different types of flowers. And these are similar craft things you can make, as are these. But I also use them for just stencil shapes as well. So don't always just use stencils for the purpose they're intended. I also have forms of spirograph. Now I do recommend these because these make such wonderful patterns, especially if you're doing something like cards. You see the wonderful patterns that you can make, and as you can see I've actually written which wheels I used. So this I keep as my little guidebook to see what makes what patterns. There's some very beautiful ones here. You can experiment to see what else you can mix and match. And lots of different colours make some amazing creations as well. Have a look in children's areas, in toy shops. You could find some really good letters there. You can get a whole array of different fonts of stencils. But why stick at letters? These are for actually putting on your hand and doing shapes on your hand. And I use these as stencils for cards. These are not the cheapest, but they last a long time and are very adaptable and great, particularly again for card making, or if you like cross stitching, you can trace around all of these on a card and then insert your cross stitch. It goes without saying, save any pictures or cards that you have. You can make tags for next Christmas or birthday tags. Look at magazines, see what you can find there. Make borders. Even the smallest thing can make something great. Never throw away anything. I have these old video cases that I can label here with a china graph, so I can rub them out if I want to. And I have a file drawer full of all of these stacked neatly, and I save trims that I find. So keep any bits of trims and see if you can find old video cases to store your things in. And they stack very nicely, standing on their end in a drawer, neat and tidy, and you can see what you need. Any scrap paper and any other items you can use to make your own gift boxes. Look at my YouTube video link to see how I make my cards. You can make gift bags, handmade personal gifts with your own special messages and pictures added. When painting and using these palette type items, you can put cling film over the top, which saves washing. Now, I'm not a lover of buying things like cling film, so what I use is an old bread bag, and I place that over the top, and I now use the free tie that comes on a bread bag to pull it tight and seal it, which saves you having to wash all this off in future, and also it saves water to not have to keep rinsing things like this as well. Also, to keep clean, I keep these old plastic sheets that are on top of files. Sometimes you buy files to keep things in, and this comes of the front page, but they soon break off. So I actually use it when I'm doing crafts, just to lay on my table, especially for gluing. You can glue things and you won't make your table messy, and also when they're glued you can place them on top of here and you don't have that problem as when they're set with the glue, pulling them off, and if you put them on paper it pulls the paper with it, so you can just pull them off when they're glued. Use things around you for the basis of craft ideas. Stones, driftwood, old jars and containers. Here, this large stone has been painted up to use as a doorstop, nice and heavy. Some pots, I wanted to use these motifs, so I just painted up some old terracotta pots and stuck these fabric flowers on. I'm always using stones which are readily available. These I put at my growing beds or my pots of seeds. If I have a whole row of pots potted up, I know what's in them. And another way of using stones is if I have a drink outside in a container without a lid, we use these lids that come on tins of coffee. They're just the right size to cover over the top, but they do catch the wind. So I've painted up some stones and we use those to hold the lids down. You can use the stones for paperweights in your house, or as I do, working outside all the time, I like to have paperweights outside. why not hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more ideas and tips. My final tip for you is to join Project Morph Collaboration. If you've had ideas that you want to share on your channel and have other channels promoting your channel to find you new subscribers. It's so easy, it's free. You just have to make one video on your channel, introducing your channel and also talking about Project Morph and putting the Project Morph links in. And then Project Morph Collaboration main channel will then promote your channel, adding the link to that video you just made. From then on, you just make any videos you like that Project Morph members suggest. This is a video you could make for Project Morph, my 10 top tips for, and whatever you feel you want to share. Don't forget, always put Project Morph details and say about Project Morph within any of the videos. Take a look through my playlist for more crafts and do look in the description below for links of other videos you may like. Until next time, goodbye.